Okay, guys, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Madison, and I'll be your friendly shop steward today, because today we're carrying on with our ongoing campaign, playing Paizo Publishing's outstanding fantasy RPG, Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remastered. And we are using that game to play in our own custom setting of the Spires of Paridar, a setting of a Coalpunk setting of industrial progress, class disparity, and occult conspiracy. And with me today are the stars of the Spires of Paridar campaign, the Illuminators themselves. I'll go the order I've got you guys on the screen here. Why don't you tell us who you are and who you're playing? First up, we've got Sean.
Hey, I'm playing Golag, son of Doc. He is an orc witch detective.
Very nice. Next up is Ingolf.
Hi, I'm Ingolf. I'm playing Basil Restbone, who is an Isoki investigator.
Very nice. And last, but certainly not least, is Darren.
Yep, I'm playing Dr. Adam Ersprung, who is a created flesh warp inventor.
Very nice. So, guys, this is part 3 of Queen of the Veiled Sun, our latest mystery in this campaign. What do you guys recall having happened last time? There was a meeting with a professor. There was a... What else happened? A further encounter with IOU. A revelation about Golag's father. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where we started, with Golag and Basil speaking to Morris Watson Fole. And about that time, we also found out that there was the attack on Golag's father, and he was injured in the attack, but he'd survived. But yeah, he had been injured. So Morris Watson Fole said that there was many enchantments on this painting that we'd given him to sort of investigate, look over, and I think he came to the conclusion that someone is using the painter to sort of channel something through, or because some of the images seem to be from this other land that we've been introduced to and been talking about with this Mr. Harker. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he said, I think he sort of said he'd never seen anything like it with that many enchantments, and he believed that Golag wasn't being affected massively at this stage, but there could be some sort of underlining sort of slow working effect that could, come up in the future. What else did he? Oh yeah, I don't know why I wrote down that he mentioned the 9th Medical Corps were particularly interested in Sally Demure. I don't know why he mentioned that. I don't think that was anything to do with our current investigation, but that was something he mentioned. Mm-hmm. Not sure what that was about. We returned after Basil and Golag had finished talking to him. We returned back to the office, and that's when Basil noticed that the IOU seemed to be once again outside of our office and keeping an eye on the place. And Basil went and had a word with Annabelle, the sort of leader of the IOU, and it seems that they're looking out for us, which is good, with the potential threat to Golag. So they seem to be been hired to look out for us and keep us safe to an extent. So that's quite reassuring. And I think when we left it, we were going off to our dinner, weren't we?
And what it says about the relationship with Doc, I mean, we haven't had too much, so that, in quite some time. So
still thinking about Golag.
Yeah, that yeah. Since there was, it seemed highly unlikely that he was, since I had no information, I had no idea what I or the company would have done to upset Doc. It was unlikely that was the case, but it's good to have confirmation that, it's not really me, in a sense, like, when you're bereft of information for months and months and months, it's good to have a little input that he's still out there and Yeah, given that I just went to the bar and they still wouldn't talk to me, like that hadn't ended. So.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I thought they were trying to distance themselves from you to try and protect you, and because they thought they were being investigated or under potential attack and that. So if you weren't associated with them, hopefully you might not get involved in it. That was my thought behind that. But whether that is the case, we don't know. But it might seem that way now that that there's signs that your father's trying to protect us or keep an eye on us with the IOU and that. If it is him that's hired them, which did they actually confirm it was him that had hired them?
Did Annabelle?
Yeah, did Annabelle sort of confirm who had hired them to look out for us?
I thought she did, but
Yeah, she did. She said it was the old man.
She did.
Basil had proposed working together in this investigation. She said she would have to speak to the old man about that.
yeah, there we go.
But she would get word back to Golag or to Doc about Golag's status.
Yeah, because I think we proposed to try and get a meeting if he was up to it. I think Golag was looking for a meeting if he'd accept it, sort of thing.
I would say Basil's idea was that if Doug knew that Golek had information about his history or his past, then he would be more willing to talk to him. Because as far as we know, Golek didn't remember anything before and never mentioned it, so I was just thinking that maybe Doug wanted that to stay this way. So that was a point I made, that you had your memory back, basically, in a way.
Why do you think? Is that to protect him from the other place, or because he don't want him to try and go looking for
So
his
as
mother,
far
or-
as we know, this what was the name? Killer of the Veiled Moon or something like that? Sunslayer, yeah, Sunslayer.
Slayer, wasn't it?
So,
Zorak, the Sunslayer.
Zorak, the Sunslayer. So his reach seems to be as far as Paridar. So he maybe did not find Golek directly, but now at least he seems to have some kind of idea where to find us, and use his powers to get after him, to go after him.
Yeah, I think that was about it. We was preparing to go to the dinner with the family from our previous case, the Babwell.
What's our intent there, would you say?
Well, he wanted to speak to me about sort of inventor stuff, but that was a side thing. But it was his sister's still like locked up in the hospital. We were trying to get her out, or at least the doctor was. So he was going to try and set up a meeting with her husband, who had agreed to sort of put her in there after all of her talking of this man that had been created, or this guy that had appeared from nowhere that no one else could see or understood what she was talking about. So they all thought she was sort of mad or a bit crazy. So we was trying to get her out. I don't know if there was anything else we needed to finish off.
So,
the children as well.
Yes. Basil had the idea that with the children, he could talk about the nightmare the two were having about this man coming to murder them. I mean, it is somehow strange that if 4 people have the same nightmare, then only one of them has to go to the sanatory. I mean, that is like you would say that is kind of a mass delusion or something in the family or so, but the others seem to be perfectly healthy, and only the woman was put into the sanatory. But yeah,
Very good.
So yeah, I think that's where we left it.
Okay. Then we are picking up with the evening. I think you guys were talking about whether or not to attend the dinner with Dr. Babwell and his kids. So what is the decision on that? Basil came in and informed you that IOU would be... I'm trying to think here. Did you actually tell them that IOU was watching? Okay, so then you guys know that you have Golag's father's employees watching out over you as well. What do you guys want to do?
I think the thought was that we would go, we'd keep the appointment. I think after we discussed it, but that expectations on Golag would be lowered, given the news of the day kind of thing. So he'd go, but probably wouldn't be his usual cheerful, productive, insightful self. Yeah. That kind of.
I feel like we may have made the joke last week or last session about him. He's going to be at a 7 instead of a 10 as far as sparkling conversation.
Sparkling. That I left that out. That's right.
Yeah. So, all right. Then anything you guys wish to do to prep before? I think we're opening our session in the lounge once again, or in the study. Anything you guys wish to discuss before you guys get ready and head out?
No,
I did want to try something before we left.
Yeah.
Regarding the painting, and I wanted to do it. Wherever it's been taken by Sovan.
Someone was going to send it off for framing, but it was going to take quite some time.
I just wanted to go and have a little look at it. Okay. Now it's come back, because I haven't seen it since. And I just wanted to basically just get a candle or something and just put some light to the corner of it and see if it would burn in any way. See if there's any reaction, because all this enchantments and magic.
As a expert engineer, I imagine you're aware what goes into oil paints.
Yeah.
So can I take
I'm sure you never told Basil or Golag about this.
No, it sounds like
no. Okay. So we are totally in the dark about you.
I'm just thinking it's going to be like sort of, not about indestructible, but very hard to destroy. So we'll set it at
the DC, I think, here, because you're going to be mindful of. I imagine you'll take precautions like put your thumb over.
This is a test. It's not
everything.
I want to destroy it.
Because the thing is, if it is oil paints, like. I imagine if you have not had direct experience with lighter fluid or gasoline where a flame has been applied, there's very little time to react. And there is also a vaporous quality that carries ignition across. So here's what we're going to do. It is a DC 5 crafting check. But as a reminder, we cannot re-roll nat ones.
Right. I'll give it a go. Because he's intrigued.
Okay. Yeah, it'll burn.
Okay. So it's literally, I just want to see if it starts.
Maybe you just put your thumb over everything but a tiny little corner, and it burns as you would expect, and you have to, put it out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just interested on a personal level when they said about all these enchantments and things. I've heard of things being protected and okay. Yeah,
you didn't burn any of the area with Golag on the.
No, I mean it was
all right.
I'm just a little black spot where his face was.
Yeah,
I mean in the corner.
Yes. Exactly. Did something happen to this painting? What is this?
For paintings, in any event, there's always going to be like leftover canvas on the side anyway where it's not painted because it needs to be mounted, right? So, if it's that bit of the canvas, you'll have no difficulty with it. Then, anything else you guys wish to do before you?
No, I think we have to move very quickly before there's more acts of useless violence against oil paintings or other things.
Okay.
I do have this notion of that that Dr. Ursprung had gone off to do something else, and he comes back to like a significant group, some professors at our office, and we're all looking at the painting going, something's happened. And he's like, uh-oh. So, guys, no, actually, that was me. I was just, it's coming through the painting. No, it's not. It's not. I burned no.
Oh, boy. Yeah. So... anything else you guys wish to do or just arrange with Sovin before you have Golag drive you over for dinner?
Yeah, just I mean, he knows the situation with security concerns, so he'll just to be aware of trust his instincts about the office and to be on alert.
Okay.
Yeah. I would. We have these kind of lights, like I don't know, like torches or something, which could, in a way, expel or push back shadows. I think we need to have one of those again. So I don't know. The last we got from Professor Galbury, I suppose. So I'm just thinking about having more of those.
Was that something you got before the reset?
Yes, but that was 2 cases ago also.
Oh, okay, then you're fine. Oh, you mean this was with respect to the Elder Order of the Endless Odyssey?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So it just is basically it's like the Paridar version of a flash grenade, I suppose.
Okay.
Something like that. I mean, not that I have one, but I'm thinking I should ask Adam to produce new ones or something like that.
Okay.
That would come in handy.
He'll add that to his to-do list once he completes Igor 0.5. What model is he now? Mark 5?
Is it 5 or 6? Yeah. I've got it down as 6, will be.
Okay. Then, assuming there's nothing else, then you guys can hop into the motorized carriage and begin making your way over to Dr. Babwell's estate. So let me grab you guys here once again. And we'll go to the nice part of town. Is that where we're going? Let's see. Yeah, we'll head over there. Go. And when you guys arrive, you are greeted by their manservant, who is the person that you have met before, or the woman, I should say, you have met before, so I guess it's not a manservant, but their maid, who greets you at the door, is the same person they had before the Topla machine was deactivated. And I think when you guys come inside, the daughter is, really, I think, a little too eager to see who things are. So you hear kind of a squeal, Basil.
Yeah.
As this little girl sees you and kind of realizes that, like, it's the Rat Man, And she kind of stops and stands still, and her brother comes over and says, "Becca, stop being a fool." And then he looks over and sees you, and he kind of, stops in his tracks, his eyes ready to bug out of his head. And that's when Ransom Babwell comes around and says, Children, you're being rude. He turns to you both, and he says, "You will show our guests that you have manners." And there's Dr. Babwell. And the kids kind of collect themselves. The boy more so than the girl. He kind of adjusts his little spectacles and walks over and says, "Welcome to our home. I'm Vernon Babwell."
Babel Rathbone, investigator.
And you see, even as if like your voice has a reaction from him as well. And he says, "A pleasure to meet you." And his voice cracks a little bit.
Go, lad. Sorry, go ahead.
No, a pleasure to meet you. I just want to but then Golek can. I'm sorry.
Dr. Babwell has to kind of like shuffle Becca forward, and she first stands next to her brother and then kind of half moves behind him. And he says, Becca. And I think Vernie kind of hits her, and she finally comes out and says, a pleasure to meet you. I'm Becca.
Hello, Becca.
Nods. She's then very much distracted by Dr. Ursprung, because she's looking up, and she pulls her brother in and whispers, and he says, that's a stupid question. And she's looking up at you, Dr. Ursprung.
And I think at that point, I'd go down on one knee, some sort of similar-ish height to him, and they go, if you've got a question, I'm more than happy to answer it.
She looks up at her father, and he nods and gestures towards you. And she looks and says, do your stitches hurt?
Not anymore. It's been a few years, and they've healed over. I have aches sometimes at the joints.
She looks up at her brother like, see? It wasn't a stupid question. She doesn't vocalize it, but then her eyes kind of go back to Basil. She's not scared, right? She seems more, it's not in awe, but she seems startled, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dr. Babwell says, we'll have Jenny take your coats, please. Come inside. I'll introduce you to Lily. And that's when Mrs. Babwell comes in. And again, you recognize her, but she looks like a temperamentally completely different person. And she says, welcome, welcome. I'm Lillian, but you're guests of our home. You can call me Lily.
Oh, thank you.
Becca says, you can call me Becca.
Mm-hmm.
Very good, Becca.
And then you guys are brought inside. Dr. Babwell says regular kind of chit-chat stuff, you know, did you see the stars this evening? Fascinating. It's still as bright as they were. I had colleagues, old university chums, who insist that it would disappear after some time, as such as falling stars often do. It's rare that you see a rain of stars persisting.
Do I have an opinion about it? Would you say, is there a, not really. I mean, you know, is there a, yeah.
I mean, it's, so the two ways, I imagine Paridar has both, like occultic meanings to the stars and whatnot too. Yeah. So if you are into that kind of, dare I say, claptrap, then you may be inclined to believe that, but I don't think divining is really your shtick, and you're not really one to, you know, study. Your specific type of magic comes from a pact with a otherworldly being, so you don't need to like read books or things like that on it. If Basil or if Golag is interested in that kind of thing, you could have definitely found information about that, because it is, as much as it is the talk of scientific observers, it's also, this is a world of magic as well. So they likewise would be speculating on the meaning of this. As of yet, there is no, you know, what the initial thought was, you know, just it was an unusual astrological or astronomical event, and then it kept going. And while I think, Basil, you definitely, in your more conspiratorial friends, some folks are claiming this is, you know, harbinging the end of the world. It is an unnatural event that could never have occurred.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, it's, and the other thing that the conspirators, you remember how over the last couple of mysteries, people have been going out and having like picnics and things like that out during those things? Well, the conspirators say that it was the Paridar government that has been encouraging people to do so they don't panic about them. If they think it's just pretty lights and nothing bad will happen, well then, but there's sort of an afterthought at this point, a curiosity that people have just grown used to. And in fairness, there are some nights where all you can see is glowing in the sky because the fog and the smog is so thick, or the smoke and the fog is so thick.
How long has it been going on, roughly? Like months, or?
Yeah, all summer.
Indeed. Well, I wish I had something to add, but I don't really have a strong opinion about it. It is fascinating, though.
I did not know that your area of expertise extended to astrology or astronomy as well, Mr. Goldag.
Hence, it really does not. But I'm interested in others.
I'm interested in my opinions, though.
I could have an opinion if you want me to, but but it is interesting what is happening in the skies for so long.
Dr. Ersprung, your specialty or your expertise does not extend to the celestial spheres, does it?
Not particularly, no, unfortunately.
No, myself either. The children seem to enjoy it. We've gone to some of the evening events, though they usually are quite late. So I think it is more Lily and I who seem to enjoy them. So Dr. Lily kind of turns to the kids or turns to you all and says, we've advised the children that you are investigators as well as your own respective fields of expertise. Dr. Ersprung. Vernie says, as if he's prepared a question, Dr. Ersprung, what area of engineering study do you practice in?
I've been doing a lot of work with automation of machinery recently. I've created my own companion, you could almost call him. I call him Igor, and I'll get out some of the paperwork that I brought with me with some of the drawings and sort of stuff that I was going to go through with his father.
So Dr. Babwell is definitely keen on this. He brings them over, and you can see he's kind of half explaining what's going on in the things and confirming them with you. His description of it and his comments on it are quite flattering. He seems very impressed with what he has learned here. But Basil, Becca seems intent on just staring at you.
Yeah. I'm not sure. So we haven't started dinner yet. So there's a time for
you're kind of sitting in like the sitting room, and Dr. Ersprung and Dr. Babwell and Vernie are all kind of around the drawings. Golag, yourself, Lily, and Becca are all sitting kind of separate from where everyone else is studying.
Okay. So yeah, I would just wave at her. So come over. You can ask.
She looks up at her mom, and her mom gestures, and she runs over to you. She looks. Are you standing or are you sitting right now?
I guess it wouldn't matter. So, I mean, I can.
If you're standing, you're closer to her height. If you're sitting, you actually might be a little taller because you have to hop up into the, kind of human size.
I think looking at her in her size would be fine. Yeah.
Okay, so she walks up to you and she kind of under vocalizes. You're very small.
Yes. I've heard that often. Especially compared to Dr. Ersprung, I look even tinier.
She looks at you and... Have we met?
We haven't, as far as I know.
And she looks up at her mom and looks back at you. And Lily seems to know what is going on. So she looks over at Ransom, and Ransom kind of nods, and she says, "Go on, Becca." And she leans in towards you and whispers, "I've seen you in a dream."
Yes. I've heard about this. I think your father mentioned something like that. So, what have you seen?
You saved me. And Vernie.
That is my profession. So if you are ever in need of saving, I will be there.
And her voice gets a little lower. And the Batman.
I think at that point I will actually show some kind of thing myself. I don't know what you've seen exactly, but be sure that whatever kind of evil person you saw, he is no longer with us.
Her eyes get kind of big as if she's trying to see whether she can trust you. Give us a diplomacy check, please.
It's my specialty, just frightening children.
You're teaching them respect, Basil.
Yeah. That's it.
She suddenly lurches forward and throws her arms around you, and just gives you a great big hug.
I will hug her back and say, "You are safe, and your brother is safe as well."
If you spare a look over, you realize that Vernie's been listening in. While he's sitting and pretending to sort of listen to what's going on, he's been listening to what she's been said too. And if you spare a look over, you can give him a little wink.
Yeah, I'll do. Yeah.
You can see there's a look of relief on his young face. And then his father tries to point something else out in the drawings. He looks back down, and he once again is, he seems more engaged now than what he was before. So, anything you guys want to direct the conversation towards before dinner?
I think I would wait on if whatever Dr. Ersprung wants to broach on the primary subject of the sister. I'd be.
Yeah, I think we want to leave any of the sort of gritty conversation till maybe when the kids have gone to bed or something. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to have that opportunity later, I would hope. Because I don't really want to sort of scare them any more than they've already had with all these nightmares and dreams and problems. So yeah, I'll sort of leave that for now and try and get an opportunity later on to maybe bring up some of the other stuff, unless he brings it up in conversation. So I'll let him sort of dictate if he wants to bring any of that sort of his sister or anything like that up while the kids are around.
Okay. He likely does not, which means that Lily is likely doing much of the heavy lifting in the conversation, but she seems a very down-to-earth and practical-minded woman. She does not remind you of the aspersions cast on Ms. Lagrange. But she isn't the kind of fritting socialite that she is there. She's not kind of the class-conscious type that you saw among the your painting, the kings. She seems, honestly, like you can kind of understand why a upper-class scientist type like Babwell might end up with someone like this, who is more practical-minded and more family-oriented than, worrying about social arrangements and engagements and things like that. If you wish to try and suss out any information about your former client, then Ms. Turner, then you can feel free to give us a diplomacy check.
Okay. Try that.
Oh, we're already past 12. You guys all got a hero point, by the way, too.
Yes.
And falling down in the job. Nice, Dr. Ersprung. Yeah, so she'll tell you, that she has nothing but good things to say about Isabel. they get along famously, and it really wasn't until she overheard, I think, she overheard the kids talking about a dream about this man and she gestures at Basil. And I don't know if this is, Ransom has told me later that he had dreamed of such things as well as a child, and has for since then. It appears as if it was troubling to Ransom when the children had those same dreams, or had the same dreams of the same individual. But there are stranger things to be found in Paridar for certain. It was particularly upsetting for Isabel, and while it was upsetting for her, I did not get her husband is, and Ransom kind of gives kind of a, like, careful. And Lily looks at him and says, these are we are wishing for them to help your sister, are we not? And Ransom nods and he says, there's nothing to be gained in hiding truth behind politeness. David is a beast. He acts beastly with Isabel, has always, and resents her for what she represents. And I think there is no, while he is a physician, there is no individual I can think of more ill-equipped to comfort a troubled wife. And given his standing both within his families within Paridar society and himself within the medical establishment, it was very easy for him to deal with his problem by having her committed. And I cannot speak to the qualifications of the care, the individual providing care to her, but the one time we came to visit, I have suspicions that he and David learned from the same tutor as far as bedside manner is concerned. Beastly and thoroughly detestable man. But we can, I think, entreat upon... It seems unlikely that David would be inclined to actually help Isabel, nor am I convinced that she has anything wrong with her. But if alternate pressures were placed on him, he is quite conscious of being embarrassed, for instance. And Ransom says, Lily, I think that's quite enough. David, Dr. Turner, it was a surprise when he and my sister were engaged. There is you would not expect one of his family to marry one of mine, shall we say. And yet, marriage it was, and David's family was very supportive to assist in our business. Sadly, has not generated a great deal of yield for them And I suspect that my failures have exacerbated his frustrations with Isabel, and perhaps taken the... And before you can carry on with that, Lily says it has nothing to do with... He would have found an excuse to abuse her as a beast such as he would do. It is not your fault. And she kind of reaches across the table and takes his hand. So Ransom says, there we have it. I'm sure I could not be more forthright, or when we last spoke. I am happy to prevail upon David to allow you access Dr. Ersprung, but I fear that it may not be his goal for Isabel to recover.
It seems quite hard, actually, for Adam to get close to this institution anymore, because the doctor running it is not very much interested in helping his patients either, I suppose.
That would... It is a... And he kind of leans forward in his chair. My sister certainly is not the first among her circle to have been deemed in need of that physician's care. And yet seemingly has no date for discharge. The same could be said for family members of others in her circle.
Mm-hmm.
I would tend to agree. When we asked about that facility, it does appear that there are those with unsympathetic ideas who likewise end up there.
Yes. So, at one point, Adam was able to help one of the patients there, and after she got sent back to her family, they have a grudge against Adam because it cost them money. So,
yes, that would... I think there may be those who are unaware, or out of hope for helping those in need, they rely on the prestige of the facility. I fear to think what may have occurred. Your patient, Dr. Ersprung, her family did seek to see her improve. Is that...
Yes, they very much wanted her released back to them, and they were begging for help, which seems to be not the case in this situation, unfortunately.
The profession of the alienist is a new field, and the study of the mind is an uncharted country. And so I think for the lay folk, those even educated individuals such as myself, it is challenging, if not impossible, to distinguish between bona fide expert and someone with other intentions.
So do I understand that your anticipation of her release is approaching 0? Is that your thoughts?
If what we intend to do is to strongly prevail on David to release Isabel or discharge her into Dr. Ersprung's care, I expect those pleas to fall on deaf ears. We have not yet seen her since she was institutionalized.
How long has that been again, would you say?
A little more than a month. chronologically, it would have coincided with around the time of the first murder in the pre-Tulpa machine.
And is there a thought that this is... Do you think she's cooperating with this? Or do you think that she's being incarcerated against her will? How would you put it? Do you think? Do you think she's cooperating with being there, or do you think she very much wants to be released? Do we have any thoughts on that?
She looks at Lily, or Ransom looks at Lily, and Lily says, she was upset by the news of the children's dreams. But she was not... She was a woman who was upset and in need of comfort. I cannot imagine that she would have required anything other than I cannot imagine that she would consent to treatment ever never ending, nor that she had dissociated from our world. She seemed well of her senses, though disturbed, understandably, by the emergence of similar dreams among the children.
Yeah.
And would you say, you think this was pretextual on his part? Do you think he was looking for something like this? Would you go that far? Would you say?
I think the look that you get on Lily's face tells you what she thinks.
Yeah.
And Ransom kind of, squeezes her hand and says, "We cannot know David's mind. We can only suspect." Everyone gets another hero point.
Mm-hmm. So,
I think at this stage, it'll be so obvious that the Doctor is really wound up by the whole conversation. I think he'll be like gripping on the table, and he'll be like almost creaking because he just don't know what to say and don't know what to do. And you can see he's getting more and more frustrated by the whole situation. I don't know, are the children still there?
No, gone to bed.
Yeah. So he ain't got that. But he just, I think everyone would notice that he's just feeling like he's restricted and can't do anything and hasn't got a good idea or good suggestion to come up with, and looks like really puzzled. And
if I might make a suggestion, one of the crystal glasses, you go to grab a glass of, maybe some water, and it just sort of breaks in your hand.
Yeah, I think that would be the obvious sign.
And they all say, "Oh, and you guys have not seen Dr. Ursprung this agitated since the patchwork woman mystery."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think there'd be like bits of glass in his hand, and his hand would be bleeding, and he wouldn't have noticed. It'd be just sort of, he'll still be sort of looking at it, and it will just apologise. "I'm sorry, Lily.
It's fine.
We'll
it's
pay
fine
for that. Sorry."
It's fine. No need. Accidents occur. Servants come in and kind of clean things up. Basil, just because you've got the investigator thing to always, you can see that Adam's got a wound on his hand that he's not treating.
Yeah. So, we can look into that, and I have some ideas maybe, but these are ideas we shouldn't discuss. Maybe just see where they lead us, whether we can negotiate something.
Before you leave, Lily says, surely you will join us for postprandials.
Shortly, yes, indeed. I only have one. I only have one final question, just to settle my mind on your opinion on
Or put another way, would you say that just one more question?
Yeah, one more thing. I don't know if I was having a post-dinner cigar, but maybe. And wait, one more thing, and that is to motive. So, do you think it is your opinion, Dr. Babwell, this is driven by his embarrassment of her, of an emotional reaction she's having? Is it truly, you think, just that? It's interesting that. It's hard to imagine that it'd be that a ongoing commitment to an asylum would be driven by simply that. What do you think the motive is here? What does he want from this?
The two of them look at one another, and Dr. Ransom, because Lily gives him the look of like, you tell him or I will. And so Ransom says, Lily has her own way of describing things, but the sentiment is not incorrect. David he is very charming, he is very wealthy, and his family is influential. He is also one of the most casually cruel men I have ever met. He will exert whatever influence or power he can over others simply because he can. He has no limp, but he carries a cane, which he claims he uses for instructing servants. And Lily indicated, we have not witnessed it, but we have seen, Lily has seen discolorations on Isabel's skin that would match his cane. He is Lily is not wrong when she says that he is a beast. But like a beast, he will strike at those he feels threaten him. I do not think he believes my sister a threat. I think this is a way in which he can be cruel to both her and to our family for the slight that he feels we have done him by not succeeding as we hoped we had in our company.
I see.
Okay.
I will. Is Dr. Urspring's hand still dripping? Is it still a?
If Basil has pointed out, you could do a kind of like a hey, I imagine Dr. Urspring, once you realize it's happened, you'll like, oh, yeah.
It'll take a few minutes, and someone will sort of give him the nod or something, and he'll quickly sort of.
Maybe it was a servant who was coming over to clean things. Like, sir, your hand.
Yes. Sorry, I'll clean that up.
Things are cleaned up in the dining room, and you guys retreat or retire to the study once again. Post rounders are brought in, desserts brought in, the cigars for those who, or tobacco at least for those who may indulge. And then once the servants have retreated, Lily, first Lily asks No, I don't think. I was going to say Lily asks whether she can join, but I don't think, for all its faults, Paridar doesn't have a distinction between the roles of men and women. So she's joining you guys for the postprandial drinks as well, and she says, "Forgive me, gentlemen, one thing, I do not wish to sound ungrateful for your offer of assistance, and I do not claim to understand the connection between you, Basil, and the children's dreams, or even those of Ransom's. But if I might ask, what is your connection to Isabel? I cannot imagine that David has paid you to indulge this, and Ransom has made no mention of retaining investigators."
So the short story of this is, and the best way to think of this, there was some enchantment going on, which would have resulted in the things that your husband and your children have nightmares of coming to place. And we were able to break this enchantment before it even happened.
She looks over at Ransom, and Ransom kind of nods, knowing it.
And your sister-in-law was very, very helpful in that, but unfortunately, these kinds of actions have consequences. So breaking one enchantment might give some force back or some feedback to other persons. And it seems like she had to take the hit.
That is the Isabel I know. Thank you for your candor and for your trust that I would not out of hand reject such a preposterous story.
It is. But be assured that the persons your children have nightmare of, I have nightmares of myself. But he's not longer there, so...
And you think back to just before she went to bed, Becca came scrambling over and gave you a kiss on your cheek, Basil. Then, this is Lily once again. What do you propose to do then? What can we do?
Well, I think that the means and methods are unknown at this point, but for example, a simple goal, it would be nice to have a conversation with her. Like, keep it simple, like just to know her mind on the situation. Is she being held against her will? Now, I realize, as you say, it seems highly unlikely, especially if this incarceration, is ongoing. Certainly, how much cooperation of hers could one expect? But just a simple conversation to get her thoughts on what is happening and how appropriate it is would be helpful. A goal like that, I would like to somehow affect that in one way or another. That would be a goal. We could find out that if the city offers some ability of, I'm not sure if this exists or not, but looking into whether there is some process that is available for this, and there may not be. But if there is a process that covers this situation legally,
you would know that while there aren't any longer separate laws for, nobility and whatever else, the reality is that money and status will dramatically influence the outcome of this. So if you're looking to play by the fair rules of this, you would need to have not only a solicitor with the sway in connection with the court in order to compel her release. You would also need a backer in order to have the political juice in order to override what Dr. Turner's family is inclined to do.
Mm.
They are distant cousins, I believe, of Captain Turner, though. Or no, that's Hunter, right?
No.
I think I made that mistake before.
Would the brother not have access to visit his sister?
Yeah, but even then, so we shouldn't. Sometimes the ways of this city don't work by talking, and I would say that we need some kind of to make some kind of
But if she
offering that releasing her would be the more or the easier option to her husband than face other consequences.
And there are a couple of ways you could affect that, in particular through your contacts. There are different ways of applying pressure on him. One is from below through popular opinion. Remember the papers are an extremely influential source of public opinion in this city, even which the elites are not necessarily free of. The other is pressure from above. And while there are not many above Dr. Turner, as a influential, board member on the Royal University or the Royal Hospital, you do know at least one person who would be higher on the echelon in the medical community than what he is.
Would that be Raycroft?
Most definitely.
That was what I was thinking as well. Maybe we could arrange something like it would be it would something like it would be would give some kind of a bad reputation to him for his wife to be in such a sage institution in a way or something like that.
Well, if there's known to be a potential cure, which we could, potentially say there is, because I think if we spoke to her and said, what you dream about or what you saw was true, and try and explain it like we have just now, she wouldn't need to keep talking about it, and that's what's got her in there. So get her out.
Yeah, but then again, I mean, she's subject to the treatment, whatever that is, for quite a few days now, or weeks even.
Yeah.
So I'm not
cleaning up. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we can't just go in there and just get her out that way. So it must be a little bit more complicated and a little bit more tricky.
And it would be facilitated a little bit by, again, just by a conversation. I mean, if we could, her ability to speak candidly will be limited, but if in any case, even if we could somehow leak to the paper she's being held against her will in perpetuity, it would be helpful on a variety of levels to start applying that kind of pressure.
Would it?
I think it would. I mean, I don't think it's a turnkey, but I think it's the kind of starting to get maybe a bit of public pressure, hit it, as from below, and then from a Dr. Raycroft from above.
Yeah, but I think the argument that she's held against her will would not fly. I mean that.
With respect to the actual care, one thing I'll mention, Dr. Ursprung, is you may remember that Dr. McKinnon worked at that sanatorium at Dag on the Sea. While that place has burned to the ground, there are other similar facilities that are outside of Paridar that she likely has at least some contact with for the staff that are located on those, because they, given that they share similar treatments, if you needed a place for her to convalesce, there may be treatment opportunities there, though it would necessitate getting her out of the asylum, as it were, and then out of the city.
Yeah, I was wondering if we could go down the route of trying to sort of make it an embarrassment to him to the point where I want to get divorced or I want to separate and like move away from her, so that then we've got more chance to get access to her. Maybe. Do we think that's possible? You know, if it's coming up in the paper and it's an embarrassment and potential.
That's where I was.
How much
That's where I was headed
she
with.
is an embarrassment, do you mean? Or
Yeah,
The situation.
so I don't want anything to do with her. You know.
Yeah, but why? I mean, wouldn't she just disappear or leave the sanatorium unalive?
Well, that's the potential danger of these people.
I would. So if my hypotheses on how these things work are true, then our Dr. Turner is in cahoots with the guy who runs the sanatorium.
it's Innsmouth Sanatorium, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that the name we give it?
Innsmouth, was it?
Yeah.
Also, yeah. And also,
I know GMs who use subtext, and they're all cowards.
Yeah. And I also would think that maybe there are some liberties with the medical code they are using. And I'm pretty sure we would find things that are out of order there, or things that they are directly responsible for that are out of order.
If you think of the treatments that Ms. King received, and at least the facilities that you witnessed, Dr. Ersprung, again, the profession of alienist is a new field, but as with most things, it's a matter of the light in which these things are cast. But do you guys know a reporter who may want to write an expose on such a facility?
Yeah.
Yep.
It would be easier to bring the facility down than to attack the husband, and that would not be wise. So at least he is in control of her. And
I mean, that's kind of where I was going with it too. That if this, perhaps even the subject is the asylum, but sanatorium, but as an example, here's a woman being held in perpetuity. You know, could be part of the expose kind of thing. But a conversation with her would be helpful too. Or if the journalist was able to the writer was able to have somehow apply pressure to have a conversation with her, which seems difficult, but things to strive for, perhaps.
yeah, I think we should look into that and come up with an idea, but not here.
Yeah. And I think also that idea of a lateral move is interesting, of getting her transferred to another hospital under someone you trust. Dr. Ersprung is another worthy. You know, it's not perfect, but it's if that'd be much better than what it is currently. So if that could be,
Yeah, it's just that her husband's got to agree to that.
Of course.
He's got the control, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And if he's got her where he wants her, as it were, he ain't going to agree to that potentially. But we can try. Yeah, we can see.
Lily,
I mean, Raycroft might have some ideas as well.
if you have been bandying around some of these more forward ideas, I think what Lily will say is, what do you think? And forgive me, I was looking through my notes. I can't remember. Do you remember the name of the doctor who runs the sanatorium?
I try to wipe him from my memory.
Can't imagine why. Looking through my notes here.
Dr. Garfield Wakeman. I believe that's Dr. Garfield Wakeman. I'm gonna.
Okay.
That's my.
That sounds right. Dr. Reed is the pathologist. Okay. So what she asks is if she went missing from the sanatorium, if we just got her out of there, do you think Wakeman would admit that she was missing?
If he suspects that she is somewhere with Dr. Osprung, he will very much, yeah. If he can't put it at something, and he does not know, maybe not. No, it would be but then again, doesn't her husband look after her? Do we know?
No, he's not part of the facility.
No, but at some point he might be, I don't know, once a year he will come and just look whether she's still alive or something.
Hey, he probably will be looking in on her occasionally, but if we could get her out and to a different facility outside of the
From
city,
what you guys have learned of Dr. Turner secondhand, does he strike you as the person who checks in on his sick wife?
No, but he maybe checks in on his money. He has to pay for that.
And when you say isn't there, kind of escapes, I mean, if in a absolute sense, you mean that she would turn up elsewhere, Mrs. Babwell? Like she would...
I cannot speak to where she would go, but just if she is unjustly in that place, I question what Wakeman would do, how he would tell David that he lost his wife.
Mm-hmm. Because it would be difficult. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, imagine if he would believe she was dead. There would be no further way for him to look for her.
In which case, it would either be enormously dangerous for her to resurface or exceptionally embarrassing for both David and for Dr. Wakeman.
Yeah, it's an interesting... I think all of these are worthy ideas. That's one I had not considered. The only thing is, of course, she would very much not have the life she did. I mean, I don't know how she could, drop by and see your kids and interact normally. I mean, obviously, if she's gone, she's gone. I mean, somehow she has to stay hidden, which would be quite a life. It'd be my only concern with that. It's a good thing to put on the table for just a consideration. At this point, I think all ideas should be considered, but I'm afraid that life would be so extraordinary for her at that point that it's if she was to maintain it.
And Lily asks, do you think it worse than what she is living now? And Ransom says, Lily, perhaps we should all take a 5-minute break and then come back and reconvene. Because we're at our mid-session break, guys. So we'll take our mid-session break, and then for those listening at home, we'll be back in about 5 minutes.
What are we thinking? Are we thinking a breakout? He's coming.
Full frontal assault. Just take it out. Just storm the barricades.
I think at the moment that's how Adam's feeling. Just charge the front door.
Yeah. I think we have even other cases at our hands, so
Yeah, that's the problem.
we should be a little bit careful here. Not.
Well, I think if we could just break her out and put her somewhere out of town.
Something horribly unfortunate happened to the husband. That would really be just
Yeah, that'd be quite handy as well. It might do if he meets him at the moment.
Yeah, but that's more Sally's line of business.
Oh, we'll assign it to Sally. Excellent. Well, good meeting. I'm glad I'm glad we came to a conclusion. That's wonderful thinking. We'll put it on her plate. Kevin, we've decided to assign this whole thing to Sally. She's going to finish this up, take care of it, maybe take out the husband and finish it up, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, that sounds fair. Yeah, Sally, if you object to that plan, just go ahead and raise your hand. Right, I don't.
Oh, good.
I don't see anything. So
it's settled then. Very good.
All right. So we left you guys in the salon, enjoying some after dinner drinks and desserts, tobacco.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. If there's tobacco, it means there is a Paridar equivalent of North America. So, or at least the Americas, I should say. So, what if anything else you guys wish to discuss with the Babwells before?
Was there anything else on our list to brush, small or large?
Well, we've already told him if ever Miss Fallows contacts him to let us know, haven't we? We've already had discussions.
Re-emphasizing that is worthy.
Yes.
We'll make that clear. And if anything worsens on the dreams, if there's some significant change, we'd appreciate if you'd let us know, just so we can be apprised and be able to. It's unexpected, but it's not anticipated. But who knows? Mm-hmm. And as well with your sister. If you feel it appropriate, we'd appreciate. We enjoyed this, as difficult as it is, and if you would consider keeping us apprised, and we would like to
hear
help.
Anything further, certainly I will. Though it seems unlikely David would take steps to have her released. Nor am I confident that this Dr. Wakeman would confirm any recovery on her part either.
Indeed.
So.
And we will do the same. If we hear something, we'll let you know.
And thank you to you all.
We will continue to look into it.
Yes.
This will not be the end of it.
Yes.
Thank you. Lily says thank you. It would be a great... We thank you for anything you can do to assist her, and for coming and putting the children's mind at ease. Basil, I know that they would be welcome any future time you may be able to spare for them, though you have certainly done more than enough already. So please do not feel obliged.
I mean, even a goal, some lesser goals, lesser than her release, even of the notion that she would be perpetually cut off from everyone else would be extraordinary. That that her own, that she, even if there were monthly meetings with her brother, this would be a great victory. It's not the ultimate wish, but this notion of complete isolation is unacceptable.
Then we can probably, unless there's anything else you guys wish to bring up with the Babwells.
No.
Then we cut to you guys at the door, being thanked by them. I think, Basil, if you, trot out to double check. Yeah, Anna says hi, everyone. If she is feeling better. So
That's great.
I'm telling them. Yeah. All right. If you step out, Basil, perhaps you spare a look up and you can see lurking nearby, there is the distinctive silhouette of, what's his name? The Catman?
Oh, yeah.
Again?
Lucius, yeah.
Lucius.
Right. Oh, no, Lucius is the
Crucius,
Dampier guy.
Crucius Kane, isn't it?
Crucius Kane, that's correct.
Crucius, yeah.
Crucius.
Did I name all of them with alliterative names?
Yeah, that is...
It's very comic booky. I'm going to the Stan Lee school of naming. So, Crucius, you can see, is looking down on you. And I think perhaps if you look up, there's a indication that he is... he acknowledges being seen. Almost as if he's telling you, like, you're only seeing me because I want you to see me. So, then a lot of you are able to spill out into the evening. It is smoky, it is fog-filled, and your chariot awaits. What is the topic of conversation on the drive home, or is there no further conversation on the drive home?
Yeah, I think we could make some plans, but then again, I don't think that we are good at making these kind of plans.
Oh, it's a process.
I think it requires a little bit more of criminal energy in a way. I would suppose that. I mean, and then coming back to the subject around in the background, something like you have to think like your father would think at this point, I suppose.
Closer. I can understand that comparison. I think before all is said and done, it may more, at least of what we consider doing, your point may be, we don't, but consider doing, it could definitely fall in that category. But this is merely round 1, or maybe round 1.5 of our of thinking and pre-planning, and so it's good. The process has started. We will keep this in mind, and it'd be nice to have one single thing that we're trying to do on this, considering we just kind of had a whole dinner about it. Like one plan, one even low-level, simple step 1 goal. If there is anything, can you think of what that might be?
I mean, we could speak to Raycroft, but as soon as I speak to Raycroft, we can't try a different method potentially. Once that, as the ball is rolling and people are asking about things and looking to get people out, then as soon as, if she disappeared, then it would be obvious who was involved and it would get very messy. So if we're going to try and take it into our own hands, we need to keep that separate, if we were to just break her out one night in some way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We don't want the connection because it will just bring others into it, probably.
There's Raycroft, there's breaking her out, there's perhaps our connections with the newspaper.
All pressure on this husband, but
right,
that seems to be the hardest, potentially.
Yeah, he would be difficult, it would seem. Or difficult to...
But we also have your family problems.
Oh, indeed.
I feel we're being distracted, although this does weigh heavily on my mind.
And that's why I was just hoping to, before we completely we have other things on the plate. So having just spent an evening of this, if we could have one takeaway, one thing we're trying to do before we move on, and maybe not discuss this for a bit. If there was one thing we could try to have on the front burner to affect the situation, even if it's small, before moving on. That was my thought. But maybe there isn't anything in particular that we're ready to do.
I think Adam could talk to his new doctor and to try to get some information about the possible staff at the clinic or at the asylum, so that we could look for weaknesses or ways in and out.
Well, other members of staff that work there, maybe.
I think we have someone who can make us invisible, but invisibility would not be enough, I suppose. We need more help from the inside.
I was also curious on even a lower level of perhaps surreptitious communication, maybe of a magical nature that we could research. While perhaps Dr. Ersprung could pursue a more mundane human, not human, but individual method of staff and whatnot. That I don't know, perhaps myself. And those, even maybe if we trusted some at the university, obviously we have people we trust at the university, but whether it's appropriate to bring them in on such a discussion, it very well may not be. But to pursue a magical ability to communicate with her surreptitiously is another thought. That we don't actually get not only do we not break her out, not only do we not have physical presence with her, but even lower than that, just have an ability to surreptitiously, magically communicate with her to get her thoughts and have a conversation. Mm-hmm. Another thought I'm putting on the table.
Would I know if they're sort of heavily drugged, the people that are attending the institute?
There is a significant pharmacological component to the treatments there. From what Vesta went through.
So there's a fair chance that you wouldn't be able to get through to the right person if you timed it wrong, or if they've been heavily drugged, sort of thing. That was my only concern.
Magically speaking, there is a spell called Clairvoyance, which allows you to create an invisible floating eye at a location within 500 feet. The eye can't move, but you can see in all directions from that point as if using your normal visual senses. It is an occult spell, which means if it is not on your list, you could, in theory, get it on a scroll. And potentially, because I think you've got access to fourth level spells, right?
Yes.
You guys are seventh? No, are you seventh or ninth level? I can't remember.
We're eighth.
Eighth level. Okay, so you for sure have access to fourth level spells then.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
We're at the height of fourth, meaning we have 3 slots. I have 3 slots for fourth. Yeah.
So if you don't have Clairvoyance in your list of spells known, then that is something you could look into.
Probably worthy.
There's also a higher level spell called Scrying, 6th level, but you would need to be 11th in order to have spell slots for that. You still could try to make use, I think you can still try to make use of a scroll that has that. That is a... instead of creating an eye in a set location, you create a eye that's above the target, either by name or by touching one of its possessions or a piece of its body. Now, there is also warding that can be done for non-detection. That is similar to what is on your... Dr. Raldi Gulberry has put warding things on yours. Yeah. I'm just trying to remember what the updated or remastered version of those rituals are, but...
I have pictured Golag in the study going through books right now.
Yeah.
I have a thought, he says, and he goes into the study. Sylvan, I need a beverage, and he's pouring over.
I shall be reading.
Yes.
It calls for spirits.
Probably tobacco continues. Since that got started.
Yeah.
A waft of smoke comes out of the study.
Let's see here. Okay. It's not a rune. I actually don't know how non-detection works in Pathfinder. It's not a ritual in Player Core 1, so I'm looking at Player Core 2. But you guys keep on talking while I'm snooping.
Yeah. It's just I'm puzzled that they think everything can be solved by magic. They clearly can't.
No one said anyone about solving it.
some good old-fashioned criminal exercises. That always works.
Yeah, I will speak to the doctors at the clinic, see if any of them know the routines of the patients, whether they, have any sort of free time, where they're less observation on them and things like that.
There's a level 6 ritual out of Player Core 2 called Ward Domain that basically makes it so you can lock the places as you wish. It's immune from scrying and so forth. So I'm not saying that it's on that location necessarily, but it is a place that it is a concern. That is a very high level ritual, though.
Good food for thought, though. Good possibilities.
Yeah.
What else do you guys think?
Well, those are two. Yeah. So, Dr. Ursprung, maybe you, when as opportunity arises, look into that a bit, and I will look into magical possibilities a bit. And I don't know, Basil, if you have any. If you think, perhaps not, but if you think you could, if you think your contacts would have any information on the sanatorium that would be useful, I don't know, maybe not. Something criminal, I say with great emphasis, since that was your emphasis before. Something highly criminal, highly criminal.
I think I'm feeling very much for this woman, but I think the cost of us doing it with my contacts would be too high.
Oh yeah, there's if only an organization existed that would have.
Yeah,
those
I guess I could. I guess they might even could get her out of the sanatorium without us being involved at all. But
yeah, that sounds quite costly.
I'm not sure whether any one of us is willing to pay the price for that.
Well, think of me. We once again have no client on this. These tasks without clients, but much less paying a great deal. But I understand. Fair comment, Basil.
I was not thinking about the money at all. But
your concern about payroll is noted, even though you might not have said it.
yeah.
So it looks like there is a detect scrying spell at 4th level as well, but it doesn't prevent scrying. I think it's just that ritual. I'm gonna grab, keep talking. I'm going to grab the original core PF2.
I think we should. Yeah.
I was just going to say that to one side. What are we going to do about your father and the other business?
Right. What is our next course of action?
We're waiting to see if the IOU are going to be able to get some word to him, or.
No, we already arranged that. So.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. I think we need to. Didn't we want to check the scene of the crime, where the guys were or the people were attacked? At least the last scene of the crime.
I wanted still to speak to the coroner to see, because I wanted to see if there was any strange reports of anything found. Like
so, and I don't know why and how do we know that the dead people are raised again? Why did we know that?
I thought that was in the papers.
Yeah.
They'd sort of dug themselves out, like shot.
Yeah, well, but but do we know that they are? So the only thing we know right now is that the bodies disappeared.
Yeah, the graves were dug out, if you want to.
Yeah, but I mean, it could mean different things, but we were somehow sure that they were working as I don't know, zombies for their master or something like that.
We don't have any. There's no reports, Kevin, right, about further sightings of these undead, right? They escaped. As they dug the story was such that they dug themselves out of the grave and then no one saw them again. Is so far, right?
That has not appeared in the papers as of yet. It was a story that Ms. Carrington was working on.
Gotcha.
She had made the connection between all the bodies coming out and then all of them being subject to the same ritual murder, and that's what led her to speaking to Mr. Harker in the first place, which led him to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
You may remember Mr. Harker. He was your mother's lover.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is interesting. So non-detection in the original PF2 book is a third level spell, Arcane Occult Primal. It doesn't seem to have an equivalent in Remaster. At least I haven't been able to find an equivalent in either the Core or Core 2. Player Core 1, Player Core 2.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so but then again, let's see. So talking to your father directly is no option. We have to wait for IOU.
Yeah.
We can try to locate Harker. I think we have some kind of contact for him.
Yeah, he came to us, so that would be
Yeah, you got his business card.
So we can try to talk to him again now that we know a little bit more. And hope that this will get us new information. But I don't know if us talking to Harker would not put him on the IOU radar and on your father's radar as well.
So guys,
And I'm not sure whether you've...
just for Veil of Privacy is what it's been renamed as. So non-detection is a third level spell that lasts 8 hours. So the only reason I wanted to find that is so you could judge how difficult a high level spell would be, how prevalent it would be, unless they use that very high level ritual to ward the entire location. Then they would have to be using a third level spell that lasts 3 times a day, and it only targets one creature or location. So as far as how likely the use of clairvoyance or clairaudience may be, those would be what the countermeasures would be. A third level spell that would last for only 8 hours, or a 6th level ritual that would last for substantially longer and cover a larger area.
Very good.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to... Now that I had an answer to that. What were you saying, Ingolf? Sorry.
No, I was just thinking whether Doug and IOU know about Harker and whether we want them to know about him. So there might be some thing going on then if they know about all the details of each other. So I guess he knew about your father, didn't he? Yeah.
I think so. Meaning...
But he never talked to them, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, didn't talk to my dad, no. My father, no. What about... how long ago did they dig out of the graves? What's our at this point? What, like weeks or days or
a little more than a week, I believe.
I don't know if there's any ability to track them, like putting any effort into that. I'll put that out there. I'll put that on the.
That would be an exceedingly difficult thing at this point, unless you have some magical way of specifically targeting. Again, like a thing like scrying, where you've got or I can't remember. Did it say clairvoyance is the thing that has if you've got a piece of the body or a piece of the equipment?
Yeah.
So.
Or was it scrying that said that? Let me take a look here. There you go. Clairvoyance. No, it is scrying. So it's a high 6th level spell.
Gotcha.
That one, if you had, for those bodies, if you had access to something like, you know, a keepsake or clothing or something that was important to the body when it was alive, maybe that might be able to locate it, but that type of spell is beyond you at this point. I'm just going to, while you guys are checking, I'm going to take a look at the rules for using higher level scrolls if you can.
So these zombies, whatever we want to call them, they've either been hidden, gone into hiding, or they've gone back to this other realm or been used for something, but they're not, you know, they're obviously not been seen again.
Yeah,
I guess they are the vessels for people from the other realm.
Bringing others through the gate, as it were, or some sort of.
Let's see. What would be some next tasks that we wish to perhaps pursue?
I want to see the coroner.
Yeah, coroner.
We did talk about going to see Vesta King.
Seems like there's
the artist, obviously.
She's far more interesting now than she was.
I think I would like to talk to our good friends at the Order of San Sylvester.
Barnabas Steele.
Yeah, I guess he would talk to me.
Yeah, whoever's more likely. It'd be good to get that straightened out. Like, let's get on the same page. Rather, at least not be at cross currents.
Yeah, I could say that I would rat you out now.
Oh, it just soured the whole evening. That comment. It just.
Okay.
So, what you thinking? You two go and see Barnabas Steele?
Well, whoever, I guess not me. Huh? You would be better to for a first meeting at least to get things clear the air a little bit. Whoever, you know, if you want to go, Dr. Sprung, whatever you think, Basil. You think you alone?
Yeah, I think maybe I don't know.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
So
maybe I would. Depends on when Sally is available. Maybe with her also.
I will point out one little rules tidbit here. Unlike 5th edition, PF2, you can use, if you have a scroll that is higher level than you can cast, but it appears on your spell list, you can use the spell. You can cast that scroll. So scrying, for instance, which appears on the occult spell list, if you had a scroll that had that, you could make use of it. The internal economy of PF2 generally prevents you from gaining access to scrolls that are higher level than you, but if you could call in favors or something like that, if you did want to remote view this thing, that is a way you could do that. So,
all right. It's good to know.
We so rarely get to interact with the magic rules, so I wanted to find all the answers to that if I could.
Yep. I don't know if we've ever actually finished up my shadow devouring those scrolls, which I still intend to do. We haven't really finished.
It's on the to-do list.
I have a scroll of silence and a scroll of dispel magic on his dinner list at some point.
Yeah.
So just to talk about that, as long as we're right there.
I think you can assume when you got those. Oh no, we're still in the middle of that. Wait, when did you get those? You got those when you were going into the.
That was to fight. What's her name? To fight.
Fellows.
Yeah, and I think you had those scrolls on you, which means they would have survived the transition. Whatever effect occurred at the end of the destruction of the Tulpa machine, if it was on your person at the time, it has survived through.
Yeah, I would definitely have been on my person because I was planning on using them perhaps in the battle.
Yeah,
Didn't know.
Okay, so then when you have time, I think it's like an hour per spell level or something like that.
Okay.
I think I'm making that up, but that does sound like...
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want a little midnight snack for your shadow.
Yeah. Yep.
Here you go, buddy. Eat it up.
Yep. He hasn't munched much on a scroll munching, so it's good.
No, I think because your tight-fisted GM doesn't give out enough actual magic items.
I think No, I think you shouldn't eat all of them at once. Just
It's going to be sick. Yeah, you don't want to be
Basil has
seeing having.
That's a certain mother aspect to him I hadn't really appreciated.
Okay, let's see here.
What were we doing? Oh yeah, you talk to the coroner, and
Guys, you want to guess what the time is for each spell? 1 hour.
Okay.
1 hour per spell. I think we can safely assume if you had a spare hour at one point, you would have fed each of those to him. So that's fine. If you want to add those to your list of known spells and just remove the scrolls, that's fine.
Cool.
Okay.
Let's see. Already got message to my father in play. Dr. Earthsprung's going to talk to the coroner about it.
About which?
About go ahead, Dr. Earthsprung. What would you?
Well, it was just if there was anything unusual about the bodies, any sort of missing organs or any sort of weird and wonderful things that have been written down on the report that wasn't put out to the public for obvious reasons. So yeah, just to see if there was anything that might shed any light on any sort of common pattern between them or something that might give us any clues.
Okay,
that's good. And then what else? Basil, what did you? I can't remember. Did you have something you were?
Yeah, Golek is obviously ill because his memory is very, very short at the moment. So I wanted to talk to Sir Barnabas Steele.
Oh yes,
which you couldn't join. So I will repeat it again. So just to make sure. Okay. I guess the thing about your father has just been on your mind and is making it very complicated for you.
Understandably.
Indeed.
Yeah.
No, it's good though. It's good. That's a very good suggestion to get at least off of cross currents with the order. If not, hopefully be on the same page.
Honestly, I'm not so much concerned about that than maybe to get new facts about the murders because they were investigating them. So they will probably know things that aren't in the police reports.
No, agreed. I mean, that's where I was getting at, that being on the same page, of actually working together in some ways, that would be great. Much less they think I did it. That's truly unhelpful. So if we could just get off that low bar, that would be great. But if we could actually also work together, that would be fantastic. I mean, that would be the next bar up. That would be terrific. So those two goals, even the lower one would be welcome, but both. Oh, and any thoughts they have on your read of Steele regarding his missing colleague would be also very interesting. It'd be a good opportunity there to say, oh, by the way, like any word on where, what is his name?
Mr. Hunter, isn't it? What's his name?
No. Archibald. Sir Archibald.
Archibald. Any word on your colleague Archibald and getting your read, Basil, on his reaction? Does he have anything to do with that? At the very least, does he have anything to do with that?
Kevin, just because I'm a little bit paranoid. So if I cross-check the dates when the murders occurred, and when where Golek was on those dates, for how many of the murders does he have an alibi?
I think you can safely assume that he has alibis for almost all.
Oh, that's so. That should make it easy to.
It is not tenable, and I mean, this is only based on your knowledge of where he was doing or where you guys were. At least one of the murders occurred while you guys were at Dag on the Sea.
So,
and while he was a late arrival there, suspiciously, some might say.
I mean, imagine if you find out Kevin and I have sessions on like Tuesday nights, actually separate sessions. You're like, what? All this time? That's really weird. That is weird. it's kind of cool if we knew about it, but since we didn't know about it, that's weird.
Yeah,
separate.
but I guess maybe that is so. That is then the one thing where you don't have an alibi, because I would rather not put us on deck by the sea at that scene where many people in the town were murdered. Just doesn't make such a good look. It's. I guess our business there isn't official, or is it? No, there was no article about it.
Dag on the sea?
Yeah.
You guys were there. There was no official article. There was no official article, no.
So there was not. It's not like the other ones where there was something written in the Times or so.
I want to say you were there at the behest of the church, weren't you?
Yeah,
because there was the missing. Yeah, there was a missing priest.
A case with a client. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. A paying client. A client with resources, for God's sake. Yes.
The downside with those kinds of institutional clients is then after the fact, they tend to ask about, other organizations donate some of their time. So, perhaps we could get a 50% discount on...
Yeah. No, but maybe, so it's like, well... If you show up too often at the scenes of crimes, then at some point someone will connect you to the crime.
Yeah.
I mean, you introduced it by your paranoia, but I think that your knowledge of my alibis are part and parcel for your meeting with Sir Steele. I mean, that could be, depending on his level of suspicion at this time, that may be part and parcel of your conversation with him. Like, okay, listen, let's have an actual sit down, have a seat, let's get a drink, let's go over the evidence. Like, what is your evidence about this? And you bringing in your briefcase that your evidentiary, to go over the fact that he was here. Let's be real about this. Let's take this out of mythology into actual facts. Like, it could be part of the conversation, is all I'm saying.
It could be. My interaction with Barnabas Steele did convince me that he is not the type who likes this kind of I don't know, let me say lawyering without doing any So I'm not sure whether this would actually help us, but we'll see. I will be open-minded, and I will do my very best to keep you and the company in his best or do our best for us. Yes.
Okay. Anything else, you guys? So you guys have arrived back at the office now. I should bring you back to the office, and.
Yeah. And I think that Vesta King should be on there too, on the list somehow. I mean, that's at this point she's
big
pretty
heart next to her name.
Yeah,
I think love is over.
That's someone you should talk to.
I'm fine with that. That's perfectly. But that she's become much more interesting now. I mean, before it was eccentricity and puzzle.
And if you like, you told me to say something and then look for the read of the person. Just call her mother. Just try and see what that kind of reaction.
That was inside voice. It was an inside voice. Inside voice.
We don't want to kink shame whatsoever. If he wants to call his significant other mommy, I mean, if they're both into it, that's totally fine.
Indeed. So she's been. What was the last we heard about her? She was institutionalized or something, right? Am I making that up?
No, Barnabas Steele locked her up, but that was
in the other realm in a way.
It was during the Wibbly time that's been undone, I think.
It's been undone, totally. We feel that's not. So she's living normally. We feel Vesta King.
As far as I'm aware, I don't think it's happened yet, but have to check that.
In the time when the Coalpunk machine was active, it was Mrs. King who came to ask for your help, I believe.
Yeah. But we think that's been undone. That's our expectation.
So.
Okay, something worthy of confirming, and if it's been undone, that makes it easier to have a conversation with Ms. King.
So we had the suspicion that she was a vessel to someone with very high magical powers.
Yes,
from your home realm, and since we don't know so many persons of that realm by name, there are only two that came to our mind, and I somehow have the impression that someone who calls themselves Sunslayer would not picture you like the king adored by the masses.
Yep. Yeah, it's an assumption, but a reasonable one as long as we're theorizing. Yeah, I could see that. That would be so putting maybe the person working through her as a white hat rather than a black hat. Hopefully that is the case. That might be more useful. Like my mother versus the Sunslayer, for example.
Yes.
Yep. Yes. Do we have any thought that like my strange behavior, that my alleged strange behavior that Dr. Ursprung says I had in her presence, what do we think triggered that? Do you recall, Dr. Ursprung, when we were there and I became sort of wistful?
I mean, we can only put it down to the enchantments that were on the paintings. And it drew the shadow out of you and into the painting, and some interaction with the painting, some
more the painting than her.
Connection. Yeah, I'd say so, but
yeah, I'm just asking if I'm going to be in her presence. It seems like a conversation to have.
Well, if you're going to be in her presence, I suggest you should have someone with you.
Okay, that's where I was going with it too.
Because when you go temporarily AWOL, we don't know what's happening, and you probably won't be aware of it.
Strange is a strong word, but
well, you get lost for minutes at a time, and have no
wistful
recognition.
is the term I would go with, but I understand.
As you will.
Yeah. Sometimes, and I just sometimes it could be a blessing to be somewhat relaxed and lost in your mind. I wink with my back to go like at Adam. So
admirers are a thing we have to deal with at this level. I know my father has had, the people that, here we go, someone that wants something because they, whatever. But it's our cross to bear. But
Basil's got his fair share of admirers as well now.
So you know what I'm talking about, Basil?
I'm still
at the university. Sure. Did I hear something about this?
Yeah, there's someone who is very eager to hear about my stories, but I think he's a very, very a very good scientist, and he will do great at university. And I think that's what he should focus about. Should focus on. Yeah. But sometimes I may need his help, so I was just keeping him.
He's keeping a kobold in his back pocket. What he's trying to say.
Yeah. Everyone needs a kobold to help.
Perhaps, Basil, you will be going perhaps to the Order. Would that be your preference? That sounds like a worthy... Right?
Yes. Right now, I'm questioning whether we didn't go through that 3 times already. So go like
but I mean, as a final, and maybe Dr. Ursprung, do we go together then? So either we go together and then do a Ms. King and then the core, and I'll just, I'll go with you, the coroner, or
does
that sound good?
Yep.
Okay, very good.
Okay. Then, anything you guys wish to do this evening, or any final things you wish to do this evening before you turn in? Busy day.
I think Adam will be tinkering around with Igor, trying to keep his mind sort of busy until he sort of gets tired enough that he just basically slumps down and falls asleep because he's a bit troubled by the whole Isabel thing. So he's trying to keep himself busy.
You can conclude the necessary, I think it's like 24 hours, isn't it?
In total, yeah, it's got to be, yeah.
So I'll assume that you've either, worked ahead or whatnot. when that next
big
nat 1 comes up, we'll see what the consequences of you rushing was. But I'm sure it won't be dramatically timed at all. So.
But I think Golag has been with Sylvan has been working on a new room of like a lab that maybe Dr. Ersprung you'll be curious about. Again, it's been a couple months since, or I don't know, a month and something between for level 8 machinations. But what was this? This is a it's a feat? No, what is this? It's a anyway. Potions is the subject where I'm really heading for.
Oh, okay.
Golegs does a little potioning now in his spare time. Sylvan thought I needed a hobby. Alchemy, yeah, I'll have to look up exactly what they're calling it. That's part of my level 8.
Oh, this is for your witch ability.
Yeah, this is a witch ability that has to deal with. There might even be a cauldron.
That's what I'm
involved.
asking. Which ability?
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Let me
third base.
Seriously. Let me get my.
Oh God.
Let me remember. It is. Oh, I think it's a. Is it a? I think it's a witch feat. Let me take a look here.
Witches.
Yeah, witch feat. Cauldron, page 186 in the remastered player's core.
Okay, here we go. Witches Cauldron.
Basil's going to be pestering me about anything I forget.
Oh, there we go. You can brew magic in your cauldron, creating useful magical concoctions. You can use craft activity to create oils and potions. You immediately gain the formulas for 4 common first-level oils or potions. At 4th level and every 2 levels beyond that, you gain the formula for a common oil or potion of that level or less. If you have a familiar, you can have your familiar learn these formulas rather than storing them in a formula book. Your familiar can all learn new formula in the same way they learn new spells, and these formulas are transferred from a slain familiar to a new one in the same way spells are. During your daily preparations, you can create 1 temporary oil or potion using a formula you know. If you have master proficiency in spell DC, you can create a batch of 2 temporary oils or potions during your daily preparations, and if you have legendary proficiency, you can create a batch of 3. Any items you create this way become inert bottles of liquid the next time you make your daily preparations, and any remaining effects of the temporary items end. A temporary oil or potion has no value. Very cool.
Indeed.
Nice.
So I wanted to, chat with you about locations that you're aware of. There's like the obvious, I know I took a look at the time in the core books, but any location for those, choices of potions and oils.
Treasure Vault would probably, but I think that the common ones, because it expressly says common ones, it's the ones out of the core books are the ones you can automatically learn. Other ones I imagine are going to be more rare.
Gotcha.
But there would be ones in, I mean, honestly, all of the player-facing source books, so or at least the material that has player stuff in it. So, Book of the Dead, Dark Archive, Secrets of Magic, Howl the Wild, Treasure Vault, all the Rage of the Elements. I don't know about Guns and Gears. That might have potions in it. I don't think so. And War of the Immortals would have likely all have different things in it. Some of those are more, I think a good starting point is the ones in the core book, because those are kind of the most useful in general. The other ones seem to be more situational or situation specific.
Yep. So I guess at this point I would have at 4th level and every 2 levels beyond that. So 4, 6, 8. Is that my character's level or my magic level?
Yeah, character level.
Yeah. Okay. So 8th level and below.
PFT doesn't treat caster level as a separate kind of thing, because you can't multi-class other than the expertise feats, right? So
very good.
There are other things, but it's a good question, because there are other D20 games where they do treat with caster level, like Fantasy Craft. Fantasy Craft has that concept.
Oh. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at healing, and there's some interesting ones. There's healing, and there's a flying one at level 8. If I don't, do it otherwise.
Healing and crafting. I think Dr. Ersprung is beginning to get a little uncomfortable in his seat here.
It's a lab in the house. How unhappy can Dr. Ersprung be about a lab in the office? I mean, really. I mean,
it's great that you're calling it a lab. It's a cauldron. So I imagine what Dr. Ersprung is like. It's like when an astrologer or a astronomer has an astrologist come over and be like, "We're in the same line of work." Like,
I will be calling it a lab. That's what I'm
a pot with a Bunsen burner. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. That involves things from his shadow whispering, the recipes in his ear. So, yes, you definitely have a lab, Golag.
And maybe that's where the scrolls are kept too. That the shadow is trying to pull me for a midnight snack.
Ooh, are you moving your Umbranomicon up there as well too from your reading room, or is that?
That probably stays in the study.
Yeah.
Like the hard reading is in the study.
Got it. Okay. Then, anything else this evening? Apart from Golag giving us a display of the new cauldron room.
Yeah, with him doing kind of a...
Yeah.
Yeah, I would maybe talk to my street gang, to the youth that I pay.
The Butcher Street irregulars.
Yeah, Butcher Street irregulars. Yeah. So just to inform them that there is other people watching our office, so they know and leave them alone and so on.
Okay.
So not to be. I wouldn't want them to be in the way of IOU, because that might go south in a way.
Yeah, Lucius does have a fairly short temper, it seems. He's the one who attacked your shadow last time. It was spying Golag, you may recall.
Yeah.
Anything else, guys?
No, not at the moment.
It's not an alliteration, if you're concerned about that. Lucius Griffin. It's okay, right?
Oh, I broke my Stan Lee rules. Well.
You did.
Then the next thing that occurs then, guys, is everyone sets in for bed. Golag.
Mm-hmm.
You find yourself in a room with which you were unfamiliar. It appears to be all made out of some kind of brickwork. It is exceptionally hot. It is very dark, but there is an aperture leading out that is very bright. You are not alone in this fairly spacious, kind of triangular or rectangular shaped room. There are what appear to be several guards standing around, wielding fairly impressive looking weaponry of species of which you're not necessarily terribly familiar. There are minotaurs among them. There are centaurs among them. In here, you are wearing long robes that seeming to be made out of some kind of reptilian skin. You also have a bunch of bangles and jewelry hanging from around your neck and on your wrists. It's a very different set of clothing than what you typically have wearing. While the heat and the oppression and the silence in this room with its low stone ceilings may be still, you are the only one moving in here. The others seem deferential almost to your movement. You can most certainly hear the sound of not only my dog, but also the teeming thousands that are from somewhere out into the brightness of the sun and down below. The brightness has an unusual quality to it in that it is a deep, almost orange cast to it. It is not direct sunlight. It seems diffused almost. You stride forward to a altar in the center where there is a single object placed on there. It is a dagger with a hilt that is extraordinarily ornately worked. There is clearly hundreds of hours put into the craftwork and the filigree and the small stones of precious stones of great value that are placed into there. And that stands a contrast to the jagged and unfinished black stone blade that comes from it. You pick this up, and as you step into the light of the balcony that extends out from this room, the roar of the crowds below, at the foot of the massive ziggurat in which you stand, hits you almost like a wave, and you can feel it empowering you. If you look to your left and your right, you can see two enormous equivalents of the spires that you've seen so many times in Paridar. Only unlike the white stone that the towers in Paridar are crafted from, these are black, and they reflect light in the same way that that knife in your hand does. You raise the dagger or knife above your head, and the already deafening roar gets even louder. You turn, and you can see there are similarly robed orcs, also shadowbinders. There are hands pressed together as if in prey or in deference to you, their heads down. But as you walk past them, they each nod, and you make your way up one side of this to the very apex of the ziggurat. What you find waiting there are 16 pillars, stone, made of the same black material that the dagger in your hand appears to be made of, as well as the other spires. And you can see now there are 4 of those titanic spires, similar to those in Paridar. Each of the 4 titanic obsidian spires are set at one of the corners of the ziggurat. And each of the pillars around the top of the ziggurat are clustered to be near in those things. And in the center, made of the same black stone, there is a elaborately filigreed and carved altar. If you were to guess, it stands directly above the altar where you collected this dagger. You, in your mind, are troubled by the sentients who are chained to each of the 16 pillars at the top of this ziggurat. But your actions do not reflect any of that, because you stride directly forward to where the altar is. When you place yourself there and stand before the altar, the roars from below, which is from every side of this ziggurat. There must be tens of thousands of teeming people down below. And again, the species you see on these pillars are not familiar faces in the streets of Paridar. With a gesture and invoking magic, you draw the blade across your hand, switch hands, draw it across again, put your life's blood on the dagger, place one hand on the altar, and craning your head back, you can feel your shadow bleed off of you like sweat in the heat from the veiled sun that sits atop the ziggurat, placed in the sky almost directly above it. A giant black disk shrouding almost the entire sun, and only the edges allowing that orange light casting down below. And while you cannot see it, you can feel that as your shadow leaves your body, it moves out as if a liquid spilling in the natural direction that gravity and a channel would carry it towards each of the 16. And again, while you cannot see it, you can feel every one of those victims. Their eyes flash open, and in place of whatever was there before is inky and hollow blackness. The first cracks appear above one, and then above all. Cracks in the very sky above them. And slowly, as pieces impossibly drop away from those cracks, black tendrils push their way through, each of them reaching down to those pillars and engulfing the victims. Through all of this, you continue chanting and continue exerting your will. When the last of them appears, impossibly through shattered, broken pieces, as if the sky itself was pottery and things were smashing through. When the last connects, there is a pulsing as if at once, 16 tendrils yanking, and then the 7 spires shatter. The sound drowns out the cheers down below as each of them tumbles down into millions of individual blackened pieces. And that is when you hear it. The roar of some mighty thing in the center of the veiled sun that begins moving down towards you in response to your summons. And that is when you awaken. In your bed. Your eyes go to the space where it hasn't always been there, but you've grown accustomed to seeing that painting when you first awaken every morning, and it is not there. The sounds of the cheering crowds, the sounds of the victims chained to those pillars, and the sounds of the shattering, all of that very quickly begins fading, the way that dreams do in the light of day. But the roar of whatever it is that lurks in the veiled sun, that remains with you. You hear the knock at the door. "Sir," comes Sylvan's voice.
Yes, Sylvan.
"Breakfast will be served presently, sir. Do you require assistance in dressing?"
Perhaps.
Very good, sir. He comes in. I think he looks... Did you sleep well, sir? As he kind of pulls back. And the brightness of the sun... Your eyes obviously were not witnessing the light of the veiled sun, but the sun of Paridar today seems brighter in contrast to that orange light cast by the veiled sun.
I'm not sure yet, Sylvan. It's, you ever wake up when not out of a light sleep, but a deep sleep, and it leaves you slightly disoriented at first? I'm in that phase, Sylvan. You could ask later. Not sure how I slept.
That is most disagreeable, sir. Would you prefer a tonic to start the day before breakfast?
I will follow your advice, Sylvan. Whatever you think.
Very good, sir. And he prepares a little tonic for you, places it next to you. What's your mind going to, Golag, as you're doing this? Are you getting yourself up? Are you just sitting in bed and thinking? Are you looking out the window?
I'm probably a little. I am distracted, and so that's why I figured I'll have him dress me, because I'm a bit. It would take me a while, maybe, in my current state. He'll prompt me to actually,
maybe he places the thing down, and you kind of put your hand on it, and then immediately you're, once again lost. And he says, "Sir, your tonic is most effective when it is fresh."
I see. Very good. And I'll down it, and I'll just follow his I'll be kind of follow his instructions at this point, as mine's going back to what I was.
So, Dr. Urshman, I imagine the two of you are at breakfast today, meeting him because you're going to be joining Golag, even if you're staying at the Bearhood Clinic. You've come back this morning, accompanied by Igor.
I'll be staying here,
okay,
just for safety in numbers situation currently.
Good call. Yep. Hold on, I got to cross off that encounter then. Ambush, Doctor. Okay, got it. Can't do that. You know what? Maybe I'll save it. Hold on. Let me just write down. I'm going to save.
Don't trash anything.
Ambush. Got it. Okay.
The maps, the tokens.
So exactly. There's this elaborate fucking thing. I love that you're giving me credit as if I was prepping that shit ahead of time too.
The skirmish you ran before the session to make sure you had the whole.
Yeah. For you guys sitting waiting while I was setting up a battle mat yesterday for about 10 minutes. So.
Yeah.
All right. So when I think when Basil and Dr. Ursprung, you were likely down before Golag, just because he's requiring more whatever. He seems particularly distracted this morning. I don't think it's a surprise to either of you that. So maybe, as he, the breakfast is put before him, he doesn't start the conversation as is maybe sometimes the case. And you notice that Sylvan has to remind him to, sir, it is a long day for you. Perhaps you should eat your breakfast.
Indeed. And I'm kind of moving things around. Like I picked up the paper and moved it over here, and then So I'm just going from item to item without really accomplishing anything. I mean, it was just yesterday. I think it was just yesterday that I found out my dad was attacked, father was attacked. So, so it's all very, it's not crazy that these are crazy times, and blah, blah, blah. But
if you see also, I think Dr. Ursprung probably has still a bandage on his hand from where he broke the thing. If you look at him, you look down at your own hand, and while it's not there, you can feel that knife having cut through your flesh effortlessly. It opened up almost without pain, and the pain only came when your flesh realized it had been split open. So maybe you would see Dr. Ursprung, he's just looking at his hand and flexing it as if to test it for something. Basil and Dr. and Ursprung, I think you probably could exchange looks with one another like, what the fuck is... You're aware that something's up with Golag.
Yeah.
Did you still want to visit Best the King this morning, or would you prefer me to go to the coroner's on my own? Give you a bit more time with your thoughts.
I'm definitely a bit distracted this morning, but I think I'd be better off doing something rather than sitting here. So I appreciate the consideration, but and I'll be eating. I'll be trying to catch up in the meal as I say this, and I'll say, how's your hand? For example, how's your hand, Dr. Ursprung?
It'll be fine. It's not an issue.
What is it that you are not telling us? There's something wrong, and I can see it.
Well, this is. I'm still wondering the portents of yesterday's monumentous news, and I'm not even quite sure. Have you ever? I woke up from a deep sleep, and I'm not even sure how I slept at this point.
Do I believe him?
Golag, Sean, is Golag telling the truth there?
I mean, it's a mix. The best. I'm trying to put him off, and it's a mix of truth with occlusion.
Sure.
Why
don't you give us a? Let me see. Is it bluff that I want or deception? What is it here?
I guess. Deception. Yeah, there's a deception.
Yeah. Why don't you give us a deception check, Golag, and Basil give us a perception check.
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty weak. If you can't beat that, you don't deserve to know, Basil.
Yeah, that's
Gauntlet thrown.
Seriously. There you go. Didn't take much.
So you can tell he's telling a half truth, it sounds like, but he's also actively trying to conceal something.
So I guess you will tell us when you're ready.
Yeah, ask me later. I'm still trying to get my thoughts together with this everything we're going through, Basil. Everything we're going through.
Do you want us to call you Prince now?
He's what? One of your jokes, Basil.
I did mention that during the dream, purple rain was falling, right?
And I think some of this, I think I'm absentmindedly stroking rubbing my palm with my thumb.
Yeah.
And maybe, but looking, I mean, so I think my mind is in multiple places, and maybe I'm looking at Dr. Ursprung's hand when I'm doing it. Yeah, there's just a lot of conscious, subconscious things going on.
Yeah.
So, whether because I could be just, being sympathetic to Dr. Ersprung, but probably not. One of those where I'm sort of, it looks like I'm reflecting on your wound, Dr. Ersprung, but that's not what's happening. I don't know. So whatever everyone thinks, but that's what I'm probably.
Golag is also worth noting. Golag does actually have access to healing magics, so he chose not to do anything about your hand.
Well, I will say I was almost ready to, if Dr. Ersprung hadn't reflected on the wound in the moment, like when I asked about it in that scene, I was going to possibly hit him with a surreptitious life boost.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So there was a thought about it, but then he kind of reacted to it. And he looked like he was doing something about it. So I just moved on.
Okay.
But, I'm looking forward to the day's activities. I would prefer not to be sitting in my study pondering today.
That might be a good thing to do, yes.
Yeah.
Then, where do you guys wish to go then? If there's nothing else at breakfast that you wish to deal with, where are you heading?
I guess, what would you prefer going first, Dr. Ersprung? Which of our, would you like to go to?
I think Vesta King is probably the most important.
Yeah, poignant, pertinent.
And Basil's trying to get an appointment with someone at the Order of St. Sylvester.
Yes, it would be nice to, if someone else showed up, that would be an interesting turn of events.
So then, I think with what we'll start with here then is with you arriving at Vesta King. So tell us about the ride to the King's residence. Is there anything that comes up between you two? Or
how are we going to approach Miss King? Are we going to try and reach out to potentially someone that's controlling her? Do we think that's even possible?
Yeah, and how direct are we? It's a worthy, to tell her what we're wondering, or do we talk around the subject and for fear that right? It's a good question. I would like to be direct. That would be delightful. But she's been, as I recall, she's been. She has talked strangely before. Yes.
But again, I think it might have been in the time when that's been unwound. No, it was before our last mystery, I think, where she said, I'm much more stronger than Miss Fallows, and almost like she was talking about a different version of her, or so it did sound like it was sort of coming from somewhere else. So that could have been someone else we was almost talking to. But
indeed, because as I recall, she wasn't particularly helpful before. We knew so much less, but still, I feel like if she was going to be effusive, if she was going to be cooperative about something she was going through, we would have already gotten a hint of that at this point. Now things have changed. Maybe, she was arrested too, or I don't know what term to use. Was she arrested, Kevin? Would we use that term? What happened to her?
She was detained. I wouldn't say arrested because that would suggest that there's,
actual charges,
police or charges, something like that. She was seized by the Order of St. Sylvester, which is a quasi-religious, quasi-governmental agency that isn't really subject to oversight.
Yeah.
Well, I think we try and be direct, but preferably if her mother's not, in the room, if she goes to get a drink or something, because I don't think she'd be able to handle it. I think she's still a bit naive in the whole situation. I don't want to get the family too worried if we can help it.
Did we determine that just remind me, we may have just said this, but are we thinking that the detention now didn't happen? Was that?
I think it happened during, the time, and it's been sort of we've gone back to before then.
Okay, so we can't discuss it.
It might happen again.
Well, so just to be clear, you're not back in time, remember? It just seems as if, so whether it was affected by the destruction of the Temple machine is still an open question.
Okay. Well, we can ask her about it. I mean, we can ask her from a semi-ignorance and say, we heard some rumor. Did you have an interaction with the Order of St. Sylvester? Something like this, something innocuous, and see what she shares.
Let me ask you, did her detention have anything to do with the Gaslight Man?
The answer is no.
Nothing
Correct.
ostensible.
No.
But I mean, we haven't played this, but our characters would have done something in this world as well. So maybe it happened like it did happen when we realized it. So like we talked her out of it, but then Adam has to be there to look after her. So you could just be there to look after her.
Checking in.
She is still your patient.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I haven't got a problem with checking in on her.
Yeah. And asking about the Order. Did she have some interaction with the Order? We heard some rumors. Is that true? We could make it easy, innocuous question. But
last time you guys were, I can't remember if you were here or not for it, Sean. But last time when that did occur, Dr. Ursprung, I believe, is the one who intervened with the Order in order to get her released.
Okay. Gotcha. So she knows. So that's farther along.
In fact,
gotcha.
I think you weren't here for this because Dr. Ursprung is the one who spoke to them about you and sort of tried to talk you up and say that she had nothing to do with this shit, and that's what got the release. So to act as if did she have any dealings with that?
I see.
If it did happen that way, it would look as if what are you talking about? You're the
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, but your character would know that, and you could also try and elicit that information, but without saying directly.
That could be an inroad to asking what that was all about. What did they question you about? We're following up to make sure nothing like that happens again, and we're you're still her patient. We're concerned, and to try to maybe that's a decent angle for what did they want to know, and anything you can share with us, Ms. King, is would be helpful in looking after the situation, looking after you and what happened there. That kind of an angle seems reasonable to be able to press for the information from that angle. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So you guys arrive at the King residence. The two of you disembark, and you make your way up to the door. If you knock on the door, it is Mrs. King who actually answers the door. And she first sees you, Dr. Ursprung, and then sees you, Golag, and her face noticeably changes. Not rude, but enough for you to notice that she's like, Mr. Golag, what a pleasure to see you both. What brings you here?
Was she like that before with me? I'm trying to remember. What was her? No, right? No. Okay.
I thought it was time that I had a quick check up with Vesta, see how she's doing. How would you describe her recently?
She looks up and down the street. Please come inside. Vesta is actually in her studio right now. Mr. Golag, please feel free to join her in there. Dr. Ursprung, if I might have a word with you.
Oh, of course.
So she pulls you aside. The dog Golag, you're okay with that? Gonna go?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first we'll deal with Dr. Ursprung. She pulls you aside and says, I did not wish to be rude to Golag, but I wanted to thank you again for the effort you took with that Barnabas fellow. They returned Vesta to us, and while upsetting, she seems to be unharmed. She has not spoken to us of what occurred there, but she has been so peculiar, so unusually resilient of late, that it does not seem to have troubled her at all, whatever may have occurred there.
And did they give you any reason for why they investigating her in the first place?
Beyond what I had mentioned, no. It is their interest in her is her interest in your employer.
Well, as always, I would do what I can to help your daughter. And
thank you.
Continue to check in on her.
I do not think she will be dissuaded from the focus of her attention, and I appreciate that you have, for now, put their mind at ease, but if there is anything to put her attention onto anything else, I would certainly appreciate it.
Well, if you can give me a few minutes to speak to her and Golag alone, maybe she will open up to us.
I will defer to you have done so much for her thus far. I am happy to take whatever direction and suggestion you have, Doctor. I will have tea prepared for you.
Thank you.
So she will leave. We'll cut to Golag. You walk up to her studio, which actually you haven't been in before. You've been in her, like, the gallery they have set up for people to come and see things, but you've not actually seen where she does her painting. If you knock on the door, she said, you can hear Vesta's voice from within. I'm busy. I will see you later, Mother.
Oh, Ms. King, it's me, Golag.
You can hear sound of feet running to the door, and she casts the door open. Golag. She takes your hand. I've been struck by inspiration.
Do tell.
And she drags you into this room.
She doesn't close the door, right?
She leaves the door open, yeah.
Okay, good.
She drags you over to where it looks like she has set up, she's kind of klooched together an easel with two different things, and there's a little bit of like this canvas that she's got set up in this room. This room probably was a dining room or something like that before that's been turned over, and there's art supplies and there's, various paintings and sketches and so forth. She has an enormous canvas set up that is about 10 feet by 15 feet. And while it is only roughed out, what you can see is it clearly depicts a ziggurat set with only two, because of the perspective of it, two massive black obelisks, 16 pillars of onyx or obsidian, and you in the center of it, a jagged black dagger sketched out, standing before a black altar.
So it's pretty much an exact match, from what I remember.
Yeah, it's roughed out, so it's only, it is a... exactly, in charcoal or pencil or something like that, or graphite. And she turns to you. She said, with this kind of wild look in her eyes, and seemingly jet black. Her pupils must have swallowed the rest of her eyes, and she asks you, "What do you think?" And that's where we'll have to leave things. Until our next session. So, let me bring us back to our main screen here. There we go. So, for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us for part 3 of Queen of the Veiled Sun. As is always the case, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the session, the campaign, or the game we're playing, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. There's also a link down below to the Dungeon Musings Discord server, where we have a channel dedicated to the Spires of Paridar campaign, as well as most of the other games and campaigns we run on the channel. There's also Find a Group channels, GM discussion, virtual tabletop chat. There's a terrific, knowledgeable, helpful, and friendly community over there, and you are more than welcome to join us. There's also a link down below to our friends at Noble Knight Games. Noble Knight Games is the preeminent unionized retailer of hard-to-find and out-of-print RPGs in North America. Not only do they have an incredible selection of new role-playing games, board games, and card games, they have an unmatched selection of hard-to-find and out-of-print RPGs, like, I don't know, for instance, the Dark Eye RPG. There is, if they don't have something in stock that you're looking for, you can put it on a want list, and they'll send you an email when it comes in. And if you make a purchase of $10 or more through their website, be sure to enter the code Happy Muse Year. It's listed in the description of this video. It's easier to type than it is to say, and it'll save you 10% on any purchase of $10 or more. That'll change as of April 15th. So if you're listening to this after that time, April 15, 2025, come back to one of our more recent videos, and you'll see what our current discount code is there. I'll also say we are about a month and a half out from our first charity marathon. We're going to be running a 16-hour session of Dragonbane set in a custom adventure in a custom setting. The adventure is called The Doom of Drakengard, and we'll have more information about that in the coming weeks, but we'll be soliciting donations for the SOS Children's Villages International Charity throughout the course of that session, or the marathon, and donations will be able to affect the course of play, affecting in different ways for players, and to make things easier, make things harder, or otherwise just make things more interesting over the course of our session. All donations will go to the SOS Children's Villages International Charity, an incredible organization active in over 130 countries, benefiting over 80,000 orphaned and abandoned children. So if you want to mark in your calendars, or if you want to join us for that marathon, May 31st, starting at 8 a.m. CST, going until midnight. 16 hours. We'll see how many characters we get to chew through. But last thing I will say is an enormous thank you to our stalwart illuminators. So Sean, Angolf, and Darren, thank you so much for joining me today, guys. Lots of revelations and developments, so I'm sure none of it foreboding. And we'll be back under the Spires of Paridar in 2 weeks' time. But until then, we hope that we gave you a few hours to take your mind off the troubles of our world and think about the troubles that our stalwart employer, not only does he have the weight of a payroll on his shoulders, it seems he has some kind of prophetic or sinister dreams to also occupy his mind. I'm sure it means nothing, but I am very sorry for what's going to happen next session. And for those listening at home, until we see you again, thank you once again for joining us. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy gaming.